Welcome to Tribe Triathlon, the podcast for athletes who don't just train and race, they belong. Whether you're chasing a new PR, dialing in your race day, or just love all things triathlon, you're in the right place. Each episode provides actionable insights to improve your next training session or race. My name is John Mayfield, and I am a seasoned triathlon coach with years of experience guiding hundreds of athletes from their first long course event all the way to World Championship qualifications. So rack your bike, lace up your shoes, and let's get ready to train smarter, race stronger, and thrive within your tribe. This is Tribe Triathlon. Hey guys, we've got a good one today. I am wearing my brand new Varlo sweatshirt that showed up just this week, and it is just on time because today we have the two founding members of the Varlo apparel company. We have Soj Jibowu. He is the founder and CEO of Varlo, and Ed Chang, Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Varlo, a performance apparel brand built with purpose and exists to empower athletes to conquer the goals of tomorrow. Rooted in Soj's personal journey from NCAA Division I track athlete to endurance athlete, Varlo blends performance design with community, inclusivity, and a mission that goes beyond clothing. From tri-suits and cycling kits to everyday wear, Varlo is about more than apparel. It's about belonging, drive, and the relentless pursuit of improvement. Ed leads the brand's custom apparel and corporate partnerships, helping teams and organizations bring their vision to life through performance-driven, community-focused apparel. A triathlete and cyclist, Ed brings firsthand experience to the endurance community into Varlo's community of inclusivity, empowerment, and authenticity. Before Varlo, he was a litigation partner at Am Law 100 firm and now serves as chair of the Rails to Trails Conservancy Board. Welcome, guys. So great to have you aboard.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So excited to be here. Thanks for hosting.
I love the description of the company and the brand. I really identify with all of those things. One of my biggest things is community. I have a high value of community. It's something that I strive for. That's why the podcast is called Tribe. Tribe is a community. That's what we are. That's who we are. So yeah, I very much identify with that desire to bring people together, to bring resources and expertise and all those things together. So it's just a natural thing for me to want to partner with you guys, and the time that I've spent with the community around Varlo has been great. So really excited to have you guys on, and you know, Ed, especially like with you come from that corporate side, corporate background. Now you're working, your career is in endurance sports. It's one of those things like where your hobby became your profession. That's similar to my story. And I've met a lot of other folks in our industry that have had that similar experience. It seems like everyone is either kind of comes from that athletic background, they're coaching, and they move into like a more, they start a business or something like that, or there are those of us like you and me, Ed, that came from a professional background and then just had that opportunity to kind of leave that world behind and really pursue our passions. So I know I am fortunate in that I spent 17 years in the banking industry. My education is in finance, so nothing to do with coaching. But yeah, about 15 years ago, I just dove head into triathlon like so many of us do. And just through a series of progressions, it enabled me to leave that world behind, and now I get to do this. So super excited. So as we get started here, tell us, what is Varlo?
Man, John, it's a great question. We get asked that often, and again, man, thank you so much for having us here, man. This is awesome. Really appreciate the opportunity. And it's also great just to connect with people and just share a little bit about the brand. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, Varlo is built on this mission to empower all humans to conquer the goals of tomorrow. Varlo derived from the word valor. It means to have courage in the eyes of adversity, to continue pursuing what may not be physically in front of you and what may feel impossible. You know, it's a story that I have lived, and it's, you know, in the basement days, I sometimes call it the basement days of the brand.
Yeah,
it's what gave birth to the vision to build something that people may find relatable, but then also touches the spirit of who we are as humans. So, hence the birth of Varlo.
Very cool. Ed,
Yeah,
anything to add to that? Any thoughts on kind of what the brand is, what the company is?
Yeah, it comes down to that community. When we talk about empowering all humans, we mean it. It's not just a tagline. I think you feel it just, John, from your experience with Team Varlo.
Yeah.
But for us, anytime that someone sees that brand, Varlo, here's the name, it could be on the race course, it could be on your training. It's our hope that they go and encourage that other person kind of wearing the brand, and others as well, right? We cheer everybody,
Yeah.
but especially when we talk about the brand, and we'll probably get into different areas of Team Varlo. It could be our ambassador team, it could be custom teams that wear the brand, or our retail DTC. The ultimate vision is that people just say, hey, go John, you got this, right? It could be wherever you are. And we really view that not only as the quality of the apparel, that's important as well, but the superpower of the brand is that you can hear those encouraging words wherever you are. And I think hopefully you've experieed that on the course. We've had our pro athletes even tell us that, wow, what a difference it makes in terms of uplifting the spirit, and in supporting those goals of tomorrow.
Very cool. Soj, what led you to create Varlo? Kind of where did it start? What was the genesis of Varlo?
Yeah. So before Varlo, I spent 16 years, I'd say, in the medical device field, pharma field. I was in the sales, I was in the marketing. I ended up being a market manager, and my job at the time was to bring products to market. How do you bring products to market and align those to the needs of individuals? So I knew that world really, really well. Also, I was an athlete. I was into triathlon. I was into endurance sports, and I've always had a knack for what branding does to the athletic spirit. And I think as I started doing more triathlon, I started to kind of look around, and I would attest, I would see, and I saw that the sport was a young sport, but a sport that was so rich and ripe for opportunity. I found that there was opportunity into what the needs were for people looking to be uplifted for in a sport that is positioned as impossible. Triathlon is positioned as a sport that it's so rare that only a fraction of a percentage of people do it.
Yeah.
And my belief is that we all have the ability to achieve that. I remember the first time I crossed the finish line in the triathlon, and mind you, I was a track and field guy who, my time in a 400, I was a 46-second guy.
Nice.
Yeah. So if people that are listening are quarter milers can probably connect that. But I remember the first time I crossed the line of a triathlon, and I remember what that feeling was like. I remember feeling of achievement in a way I've never felt before. And I remember saying to myself, we should make sure everyone feels that. They have the opportunity to feel it. It's not isolated for a select few. Everyone should feel that. And it was the impetus, it was the motivation to do it. So years later, a lot of hard work later, here we are. Here we are, right?
Yeah, I would say with things kind of like Varlo, and there's others that you're an overnight success that took a decade to get there. Because basically in so many of these things, you just see a brand or a product just pop up, and it seems like it catches on, and all of a sudden it's everywhere. But yeah, people don't realize the time that it took to get there, and the sacrifice, the expense, the investment, all those things. A lot of times people kind of take that for granted, and I think as someone who's been on the side of building a business in the space, it's there's so much that goes into, and it's great to recognize that. So props to you guys, and I certainly recognize that how much has gone into what you guys have created and are creating. So. Soj, where did you go to school? You said it was a D1. Where was that?
So I was, I'm on the East Coast now. So Varlo's on the East Coast. I've been out here myself 11 years, but before this I was in Michigan, and I ran track and field at Central Michigan University. Okay. So, had a lot of fun, just an amazing good time with sports there. And track and field has just been something that's, I guess it's like the background root of my athletic career, I guess.
Yeah. So what else? 400. What else did you do?
Man, when you're growing up, and you're in track and field, they'll put you in everything. They'll put you in a 200, 100, a 4x4 or whatever. But then once you get into like the NCAA level, you specialize. It's like you're the 400 and 200 person, and that was my case. So I was a 400, 200, 4x4 runner. And what's really interesting is that, like, I think maybe I'm partial, but 400 athletes are kind of like in the middle, where like you can run, you're not a distance athlete, you're a sprinter, but you're somewhere in the middle. And I have a high school coach that used to tell me, he'd say, all I need is like 400 runners, and I can win the state championship.
Do everything.
They can do everything, ways, right?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like swimming, where like that 400 is that intermediate distance, and like as triathletes, we're thinking like that's nothing. Like that's we do drills for that, but yeah, it's like kind of like in swimming. It's like if you swim the 500, you're an endurance. It's like 500. That's a warm up. Like, so when we're talking running half marathons and marathons, the 400s and 500 in the pool is kind of nothing. But so. How did you go from being the track star to triathlon, learning to swim, riding a bike, all that?
Yeah. Man,
get ready, Ed, because you're next.
Yeah. Oh, God. I was going to say, like, ask Ed. He has a really good, interesting story. So after track and field, like, I still wanted to be active, and you can't, it's not like you can walk up to someone on the road and say, hey, I want to challenge you in a 200-meter sprint around the track. So the closest thing is, find 5Ks, find 10Ks, build up that endurance tolerance, which I did. But I remember I was in Chicago, and I was at an ITU event, and I didn't even know the names, but like the Mola, the Brownlees. That was my first triathlon, actually watching and seeing people swim and et cetera. And I said, man, that is so cool. I want to do that. And I'll jumpstart to this funny story. And I've shared it to a few people, but this is before I had a fancy Garmin watch that can tell you what you should eat for lunch and dinner and stuff. Before I had that, when I was learning to swim, I had a bag of pennies, and I would keep them on one side of the pool. And whenever I got to one side of the pool, I would take a penny out and I'd move it to the opposite side, right? And that's how I counted my laps. It's funny, man. It's funny how it evolves. But yeah, that's kind of the journey of it, man.
So I had a similar trick in the beginning for me. I would wear my flip flops to the pool, and then I would rotate them. So like a 4 lap, it would be a full circle, and then the other one would be a full circle. So I could do up to like 8 laps and keep count. Because it's impossible to keep count in your head. But all right. So Ed, how did you get into the sport?
For me, I've been in the sport since about 2012. I ran a little bit of cross country in high school, nothing serious, but just kind of kept up the running throughout college, just recreationally. And I think as my wife and I feel like we were turning 30, she made the kind of commitment, like we got to start kind of taking care of ourselves a little better. So like, all right. So we started doing some running here in Philadelphia, did, 8 mile, there's an 8 mile loop here in the Schuylkill River Loop, did like the Broad Street, ran the Marine Corps Marathon. And I was like, oh, what's next? Let's try triathlon.
Yeah.
I'd watched a lot of the Kona coverage, like many people on NBC Sports. So definitely was interested in it. Didn't know how to swim similar to like Soj and perhaps you, but I could not drown, but didn't know how to swim a lap. So I hopped into my local gym pool and kind of swam a lap, almost died. And I was like, I could try this, and then just kind of work my way up there from there, sprints, Olympics, up to full Ironmans. I think what I really fell in love with the sport was ultimately the community. I think triathlon oftentimes gets a bad rap that it's elitist or whatever, but honestly, I've never experienced any of that in my journey, and all the way up from amateurs all the way up to the very pros that we work with. I've found that people are just so incredibly kind and helpful, and I think because it comes from the fact that swim, bike, and running, nobody knew how to swim, bike, run altogether from anything, right? You could have been a collegiate runner. You don't know how to swim. You could be a collegiate swimmer, but don't know how to get on a bike. But someone, you clipped in that first time and fell over, and someone helped you up, right? And I think almost every triathlete retains some of that empathy. And what I've found is just, the encouragement, the people behind it, I think is just incredible and bar none. And that was, what kind of led to my passion behind the sport, just being in the community here in the Philadelphia area. We have a really vast network of multi-sport groups, clubs, teams, races between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and just kind of learning it and getting to know different teams and clubs. And that's kind of how I got into it.
So you ever do the route that ends at the museum, up the steps and the turn around and jump with your fist in the air?
Yeah, we do that when people come to town. It's a little
Rocky reference for those that didn't catch it. But when you're in Philadelphia, you got to go run the museum steps and get up there. So Ed, you were a litigation attorney, right? So you were actually in courtrooms doing actual litigation?
Yeah, courtrooms, depositions, trials on occasion. But just did that. Kind of, it was a job. It paid pretty well. I was decent at it. But I would say, I tell people I kind of fell into it. I was good at it. I liked it, but I didn't have a passion for it.
Yeah.
I had a passion for cycling, from triathlon, and kind of pre-2020, I would say, going all the way back to 2015, 2016. I was just looking for a way to, first of all, give back, but also to the community, but also, find a way kind of to get more involved in the industry. I was looking at, at shoe stores and bike shops, bike fitters. I was talking to a whole host of people. And even before, as Soj and I talked, I think I'd call with Soj, like, what do you think about the bike, this tri-bike fitting? And what do you think about it? We started a store like that. It's just any way to get into kind of more tied to it. I was looking at it. I joined the board of the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, which is our local cycling advocacy safety group. Safe streets, bike lanes. We also have a youth cycling program that works with inner city Philadelphia youth. So I was heavily involved in that programming. And I did that. It was really after my first Ironman. I was training so much on the Schuylkill River Trail, which is a big paved rail trail that runs from the city all the way out to the western suburbs. And that's where all triathletes train, because triathletes are terrible cyclists on the road to start with. It's safe. There's no cars. You can just kind of go into your bars and just go back and forth. And I wanted to give back to I wanted more trails. So kind of that one thing led to another, and ultimately kind of came to Varlo through that path.
Yeah, that's cool. So, you kind of described the process, but were there any moments in there kind of that, because I'm thinking back to my experience from when I was senior vice president of a bank. Had a great salary that paid me every 2 weeks and some great benefits, but I explained to my wife, it's almost hard to keep going to work because I had this passion. I felt like there was something out there for me, and I was working in a business, and we were starting to grow a company, and it was about a year long for me, where it was I kind of described it as, this is kind of odd for me, but almost like a pregnancy kind of thing. It just kept growing, and I felt like at some point it was going to just end, and then there would be a change. And that's kind of how it went. And, my wife was incredibly supportive through that, almost like more than me. She's like, just do it, just quit and go do it. And I was like, pump the brakes a little bit. But did you have any of those kind of moments when you were transitioning from your law career into the sport?
Yeah, definitely. I think Soj and I can both tell about our wives and how supportive they are. We talk about it all the time. But there was a lot of that, even pre-COVID. I would say there were a number of moments. I was my first Ironman coach, Jason Kildare, a well-known coach in this area from ETA Coaching, studied under Philip Skiba, Dr. Skiba, who was the Nike Breaking 2 project, one of the head sports scientists. So he studied under him, very, very analytical coach. He unfortunately passed away from a rare blood cancer, probably a year and a half after I completed my Ironman. And that's kind of one moment, like, oh my gosh, life's short, right? This was 2018. Life's very short. Then COVID happened, and obviously everyone kind of rethinks their lives. And, for me, it was about, I thought to myself, I like I said, I enjoyed the law. I was decent at it, but was I passionate about it? No. Like, what could I achieve if I was actually doing something I was fully passionate, fully on it, all in on it? And that's when, after, Soj and I had started talking in 2020, when he was starting to kind of get the wheels moving on Varlo, we talked, and I kind of dipped my toe into what I could, and then made the decision to go full time in 2021 post COVID. But it's similar to what the story you tell. You're probably very good at, you're probably be modest, and you're very good in the business.
That was all right.
Finance aspect of it. But life's short.
Yeah.
I had lawyers and partners that I work with that literally, there's someone that unfortunately, the head of our Pittsburgh office at my firm, passed away in a deposition.
Wow.
He was in a hotel room preparing for a deposition. This was probably like 2018 now, in that same time. And I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I was like, that would really suck. I would be very upset if that happened to me, if that went out like that.
Yeah.
So, if it's like some other way, just that you didn't have a chance to kind of really go for it, right? That's, for me, there was a multitude of those, and also a very supportive wife. Like, hey, obviously you have to have,
thank God for those
situation to kind of quit your job and not take a salary for 2 years. And there's definitely conversations and family conversations to be had there. But yeah, was able to do it and make that transition.
So, Soj, what would you say is a moment early on that really shaped the brand, the company, the culture?
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to go back to Ed's thing about like quitting, because I was, when he told me, I knew I did something crazy and I quit my job to start a company. But when he was like, he's quitting his job to come and join, I was like, man, are you sure?
Yeah.
I was just very clear. Don't. I'm not recommending this. You make this decision. I'm not telling you to do anything.
Yeah,
so that's funny, because that too is very similar to my story. Because when I was talking with my partner, it was like, I'm ready to do this, and he had already gone full time for about a year, and he was kind of like, you sure? And it was like, yeah, you're putting that on me, because now we're responsible for 2 families, and so it was kind of a similar sentiment of like, okay, but just know what you're getting into, and it was great. We had a great run, but yeah, sorry, Soj, go ahead.
No. Yeah, your question was like, what are some things that happened early on to shape the company? I mean, that goes in so many ways, man. I think early on, and I think whenever you're starting a business, there's a couple of things that are inherently of DNA, right? Which is like my DNA, my story, moving to the country, things that I saw and experienced as a child, how I got into sport. There's DNA aspects that have maybe shaped cultural ways around the brand. Like there's, I would say that, for instance, every time we get on a Team Varlo call, we have, it's literally, we say the same 3 things over and over and over and over. And they're like redundant, right? Mm-hmm. Alone we're fast, together we go further. Empowerment is the cornerstone of our community. We are those individuals that are brand new. We say the same thing. And it's literally because for me growing up as a child, maybe as an immigrant, maybe as, I wasn't always fast. That didn't happen I didn't get fast until I was a junior in high school. So anyone who has kids that's stressing on their kids being whatever in sport and are they going to go to college? I didn't develop until I was a junior in high school.
Yeah.
And then went on to break collegiate records and stuff.
That's awesome.
So for me, there was a little bit of DNA stuff that was there, but I would dare to say that if I were to say what shapes some of our decision making, how we do things, our work ethic, our drive to continue, I think internally within the 4 walls of the brand and people that are here, we have this mantra of how the internal culture is of the brand. I'm literally looking at it, uncompromised culture of excellence, adopt non-traditional pursuit, change is the only constant. The work of yesterday is not enough for the goals of tomorrow. Start with the end in mind, follow the law, break every single rule that you can. That's built from like hunger. It's built for, if you think of like the kid who sat on the bench and he never was able to get into the ball game, right? And then finally the coach looks to him and says, hey, hey, Jibowu, get in the game, right? When you get in the game, you want to do everything that you can. You want to show your talent. You want to show your worth. You want to show your value. You want to be creative. You want to do all these things. And you want to adopt as much as you can to know that there's a North Star that you can get to. So I think it's a little bit of that. And then, there's when you're starting a company and like Ed will tell you some of this stuff, like, cause there's so many stories like early on, like early founder stories. Whenever I'm talking to someone who's like a founder of a company, I look at them through a different lens because they know what it's like. They know what it's like to, I think I sold a property to start. We had like my wife and we had a property in Philly. It was like this house. It was not a small house, but we sold it to liquidate so we could have cash, right?
Yeah, wow.
I pulled money out of my kids' college fund to start the company, right?
Yeah.
So before we had hang tags, like the product that you're wearing right now has like, when you got it, there was like hang tags on it, right? That said Varlo and it said some other stuff probably.
Yeah.
Before we had a big office with a warehouse and we had all this stuff, I would sit in my living room and I would cut like pieces of twine to tie them with like a card with all that stuff, right? So if you were to say, oh, like what shapes your guys' culture, your work ethic? Ed was a lawyer for, a gazillion years and, he wouldn't tell you this, but he's also an Ivy League grad, right? So there's another layer of like professionalism that we have within our culture that is not just bound by work ethic and creativity, but there's another layer of like professional intent, right? We want it to be great. We understand that the one opportunity we have, we may not get another opportunity. So how do we make it the best as possible? And because, we've always wanted to get into the ball game. Now that we're here, we don't want to squander it. We don't want to let it go. We want to make it as bright as possible. We want the people that, who choose to go on the journey with us. We want them to be heard. We want their story to be shared. We want them to know that we've also been where they are, whether they are pre-achievement or post-achievement for whatever their goals are, right? So I hope that answers a little bit.
Yeah.
Does that give a little bit of perspective?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I get to, you talk about when you speak with entrepreneurs and business owners, those have started a business, it's similar for me. Even here now, just even here listening to you, I hear leadership, which I enjoy. There's just leadership verbiage that I think just comes naturally from you. So I'm just enjoying hearing the story. So backing up just a little bit now, I've got some interest peaked. Where are you from originally, Soj?
Yeah, I was born in Lagos State, Nigeria. Moved to the States when I was like 7.
Okay.
And my parents were teachers. So they came to go to school. They were teachers. And, it's funny, like, and again, you're going to go back to like, what's the DNA of the work? And Ed will share some work ethic stories that you'll start to go like, oh, now it makes sense. Yeah. Right. Like, but I remember watching them like as they moved to the country, and my mom had like 3 jobs. She worked at Taco Bell, she worked at Hardee's, and then she worked at Shoney's. My dad also had 3 jobs. Wow. And I remember I knew what kind of day it was based upon like how they came home and how they smelled, like what kind of like it was grease, all this stuff, right? Yeah. I also knew what kind of day it was going to be when they were leaving the house because I knew what type of uniform or if they packed a uniform to leave the house, right? Wow. Yeah. So when you see that type, I think Ed and I were literally talking about work ethic yesterday in our kitchen. We were just talking about stuff. And when you're raised with seeing people who work, like just is like, it's just part of like how that's all you know, right? Yeah. Like what you know is you don't shy away from hard work. You don't shy away from trying. You definitely don't shy away from like putting yourself out there, because that's just part of the process,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, man, that's amazing. I love those American dream stories, and I know just, you know, for them to take that risk, make that sacrifice, to work all those jobs, and to see you now as a business owner, I you know, I don't even have to imagine. I know they're incredibly proud.
Yeah.
So Ed doesn't have to downplay it. Soj, what tell us a little bit about Ed's educational background. What you mentioned
Lord.
Ivy League. Where was the Ivy League?
Ed went to Penn. He went to Penn.
Okay.
Like he's a law grad from Penn. Like this kid's like, he's, you know, look, like I was talking to some of our staff in the office, and I was like, you know, I was telling them a funny story about something that happened like a little bit ago, about how, like, whatever you know of Ed, like if lawyer Ed comes out, he will strike the fear of God. Like if you are on the other side of the fence and Ed has to step into his mode, like it's over. So like,
don't get an argument with Ed. You know, he'll turn it into a deposition.
Yeah. Don't take that smile. You see that smile that he has right now? It's like, you know, like, don't be fooled.
So if leftovers get taken from the fridge there in the office, Ed's gonna find out who did it, and
he'll find out.
yeah. So speaking of Ed, Soj referenced some of those things that you can speak to. So yeah, if you would just share some more about that. The work ethic, the culture, and the things within the company.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we work so well together, because we do have that shared kind of, I would say, work ethic. I was born here in the States in Maryland myself, but my parents were first generation immigrants. They immigrated from Taiwan.
Wow.
You know, my dad graduated from the top university in Taiwan, but the thing about there is that you don't have to, it's like, you know, you can not pay for the school. So he came from there, definitely very humble roots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they borrowed like $1,000 from their family to kind of to fly to bring my mom and my brother, who was also born in Taiwan, over at the time in the 70s. And you know, he interestingly enough, he went to Howard University, obviously HBCU.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, it's because it was like literally like, I don't know, it was like $250 a semester or something. It was a very affordable university. Is like the only, you know, I think one of the few places he could afford to go to as an HBCU. But he got his law degree, but he was working in a Chinese restaurant just like as a busboy.
Wow.
You know, kind of putting himself through law school and also having a family. So and ultimately, you know, he you know, took over an immigration firm. But there's a whole story. There's a whole funny backstory of that leads back to Philadelphia. But you know, my mom also was behind the scenes taking care of the kids, and you know, as we grew up. But you know, my dad was getting his immigration kind of paperwork from this law firm in Washington D.C. and the paralegal that they were working with, and said, "Oh, by the way, Mrs. Chang, you know, this is my last day here at the law firm. I'm moving back to Philadelphia to open a restaurant." And she's like, "What? Okay, well," my mom's like, well, who's taking your job?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you know," it's like, "No one really. I don't know." He's like, "Well, my husband's in law school. Can you interview?" Ultimately, like, you know, this is kind of talking about the woman behind the man, but you know, she got my dad that position. Ultimately, he worked paralegal, you know, partner at that law firm, immigration law. Was very successful over his career of over 40 years. But so years and years later, you know, I live in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Turns out, I don't know if Yang Ming, Soj, did you ever go to Yang Ming?
I know it's by your house. I know it's like
by our house. It's literally down the street from my house. There's a really good restaurant, very well known in the Philadelphia suburbs, like a very nice upscale Chinese restaurant. And the owner of it was that paralegal.
Oh, wow.
So my parents were visiting, and my dad's like reading this, and this looks interesting. Like the name of the owner. Mm-hmm. He's like, that guy's interesting. I wonder who it is. And like he walks out, and lo and behold, that was like the paralegal who quit his job. And again, kind of going to changing careers, right? Yeah. There's a paralegal probably making decent scratch, right? Mm-hmm. Paralegal for a law firm. He's like, I'm going to go home and open a restaurant, right? That sounds kind of crazy in itself. But years and years later, like they're like, oh my gosh, they haven't seen each other for, you know, whatever, 30, 40 years. And like, this was the person that like got my dad a job. Well, my mom got my dad the job at the law firm, which he ultimately took over as became one of the head partners there. So crazy stories. But again, that hard work, I would say, when we talk about like the brand and how fast we move, that, you know, it's obviously Soj's kind of athletic background, but the work ethic internally, you know, we have fun, but you know, we always say, like, I always tell Soj, no one's going to outwork us.
Yeah.
No one will outwork us, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how we've been able to grow and kind of do what we've been able to do so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super cool stories, and I feel like that just even gives us some perspective to the background and the why and the how and all that. So I kind of just realized we've been talking for all this time now. We haven't even talked about what Varlo does. So what are kind of the key primary products that Varlo offers?
Yeah. So primary products are triathlon products, triathlon suits. Anyone who, whether you're in triathlon or not in triathlon, those are suits that are specially made for the ability to swim, bike, run throughout those disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the unique things of the brand is that as we've evolved from year, we've also created triathlon suits for individuals depending on where their journey is in the sport. We understand that there are people who do triathlon that are new to the sport, they're early adopters, they're newcomers. And so we have a product specifically for those individuals. We have individuals that are, core athletes. They've been doing it for enough years where they've established it and adopted it as a lifestyle. And so there's products that are specific to those. And then we also have like another tiered product for individuals that are, more, further on in their performance ambitions, and are looking for, marginal gains and how to perfect their athleticism in the sport. Ed, you can share a little bit on like cycling, REI, and the products we have with some of our wholesalers.
Yeah, we started with kind of the triathlon was kind of the bread and butter, where and it's still our bread and butter. But from there, we've expanded out to cycling. We offer cycling apparel, gravel cycling in particular, through REI Co-op, which is one of our partners.
Oh, very cool.
And also athletic wear for folks. So it's kind of along that journey. It starts with that race suit, right? What do you need? But then there's ancillary items. You need cycling jerseys and bib for the training. You need run shirts and tights for the run training. So we really focus on that kind of start from that endurance heritage is how we describe it.
Yeah.
We start with triathlon suits, piece of apparel that can withstand 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, 26.2 mile run, and then expand that apparel to cycling world and even running world, where we do running gear pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So are some products available in REI stores?
Yes. So if you go to a certain rei.com, you can find Varlo cycling apparel, jerseys, bibs. We have cycling tees that we developed in conjunction with REI, so a little bit more casual wear. Button tech shirts. Think like a Hawaiian shirt, but with more technical features that you can use on and off the bike. And this year, we're excited to release our Terra collection for 2026, which is our bamboo, sustainable bamboo shirt collection. So it's kind of breathable, again, on and off the bike, around town. And we're excited to introduce that through REI this year.
Very cool. So early on, you both mentioned inclusivity as part of the brand and the company. How do the products represent and integrate in with that inclusivity?
Yeah, I would say one of the first projects I worked on when I came on board and full time was to develop. We were working at the time with a Muslim triathlete, Khadija Diggs. She's part of Team USA. She qualified. She's a very accomplished open water swimmer. I think her father was I think her father came from Cuba. He was like one of the top open water swimmers, I think, just in general. So she's incredible swimming background. But we had done some kits with her, and she had commented that there was no triathlon suit out there that was full coverage to allow Muslim women, or even women or folks with potential skin sensitivities to compete in. And there's all this issue. During that time, there's rule changes that were happening, exemptions. So we said, hey, we're going to be the first to develop it. So, we worked with Drexel University to develop a sports hijab at their School of Design, work with some local Muslim athletes that I was friendly with here in Philadelphia, but also Khadija, to test, build, and refine. And to this date, we we are the only brand with a full coverage triathlon suit that we both retail and custom. But that tells a little bit about like the inclusivity. We offer a range of sizes, extra small all the way to 2XL in retail, up to 4XL in custom. So just having a wide range of options available for folks, but also just being welcoming. I think inclusivity doesn't mean necessarily the color of your skin or who you are. Inclusivity could be someone on our, we have Team Varlo members that are former veterans who suffer from PTSD, and it's open about it, and just being supportive of where they are in their journey, and just being inclusive and supporting kind of wherever you are. We have adaptive athletes within our community. We have I think we have a coach on Team Varlo. She coaches Special Olympics. So we have some neural disability folks that are joining the team. So for us, it's all about just welcoming everyone. We want everyone. We talk about empowering everyone to conquer the goals. By everyone, like sometimes I'll like underscore everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone deserves to feel supported and uplifted, and everyone deserves to have that voice, that brand, that we believe in you. When we talk about believe, it's like we believe you or whoever can achieve something remarkable. That's what we view as inclusivity.
Yeah, and what other thing is cool there is like it's kind of easy to have or even some of these like in the team and that sort of thing, but to actually take it and kind of put your money where your mouth is and actually make products and to do that kind of thing. And I'm guessing they're not the most profitable products, and there was probably a higher overhead, a higher expense to get that product to market. But making those sacrifices obviously is of value. So that's cool. What would you say makes Varlo different from another, say, kit manufacturer?
Yeah, great question. I think I think we just chatted on it. Yeah. Like which is I think it's easy to make a product and design it, like, because you can replicate all that stuff. Like, I think it's to ask that question is almost the same way of saying, like, hey, what is not replicable? Like, what can't you replicate? And we've, Ed and myself and our internal team, we've chatted about this, which is that culture, you cannot replicate culture at all. Like, you just can't. Like, you need history, you need time, you need literal, unless you're going to go to Ed and like pull out his blood and get his DNA on like what he's learned from his parents and what he's experienced in life. It's impossible to replicate culture. You can try, but you can't. It's really easy to replicate like design, art, sound, music. Anyone can replicate that. Yeah. But like the stuff that comes with it is cultural. And that's why within our brand community, once you're involved in that, that's where you start to go, oh, I see what's going on here. We do this like event. Every year we do a live event, which is, we don't call it a camp because we think that has like a negative connotation with it, like calling it a camp of who can get up the hill the fastest. But we put so much social infusion into the culture of who we are. We have our one coming up. It's in Austin, March 6th through the 9th, I believe. And that's where people really get to see that culture and go, whoa, like now I get it. And how does that translate to receiving a product in the mail? It's like, it's the little tiny things. It's the messaging you get on the product. It's what happens after you get the product, the communications you get. It's the surprises that you get that are like, wow, these guys were thinking about me, right? Yeah. It's all these little tiny things that you get to go, that's what the culture is of the company. And so it's the biggest difference. It truly, truly is.
So I experienced one of those things, and I'm going to kind of make myself look bad and feel like a jerk for saying it. So we put in my order for this and my kit for the year and all those things, and I don't even remember everything I'd ordered. And then I guess it was like, and they said, these will be in January. So it's like, okay, it's going to come in January. And then I got a tracking number in like, I don't remember, late November, early December, something like that. I was like, oh, it's coming early. So I was all excited. And then like when it showed up, it was just like a cool note and an invitation to the Austin event and a swim cap and the bracelet that Soj has on it. And I was kind of like, this is cool, but this isn't the gear I ordered. So just maybe like a heads up next time, like, hey, we're sending some stuff out. It's not your gear coming in early. So I was like, oh. And I mentioned it to like some of my other friends on the team, and they're like, yeah, I was a little bummed too. I thought it was because we're always so excited to get our new gear in, but yeah, super cool to get that. And I will say, been in the sport quite a long time. I've done a lot of races. I've worn a lot of kits, and that's really what brought me into kind of the Varlo culture and eco space and all that. I was actually kind of last minute looking for a kit prior to racing Ironman Texas last year, and one of my good friends, Chris Tubbs, is a leader of the Texas and South region for the team. And I just asked him, I was like, hey, I've heard good things about these Varlo kits. And he's like, yeah, and we can get you one. So I ordered a kit, and just like half joking, I was like, well, is Team Varlo still taking applications? And Chris was like, we could probably make it happen. So I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool, because I've led teams for a long time, and it's really nice to now actually like take that step back and actually get to be, somebody in the audience as opposed to the person on the stage. And I've really enjoyed that. And it's given me this inside look at truly what it is, and getting to see the culture and the brand. And again, the product is second to none. They're fantastic. The design, the fabrics, even just the color schemes and design as far as that goes. So both, I would say, design as in what you see, but also the design in the panels and how it fits and all that. So it's first class, high quality products and comfortable, for Ironman distance racing. So it is a really good product.
We obsess about that, John, and it's like I'm going to try to be. I get like super like up when it comes to product development, because it's like it's easy. We have like this bin with like I don't know, like 800 pieces of fabric in it, and we're constantly testing. One of our mantras is that like the work of yesterday is not enough for the goals of tomorrow, which means that if it was good yesterday, your goals of the work of now is not going to be enough for what you want to do in the future, right? You're going to have to continue to develop it. Change is a current constant. It's always going to take place, always happening. And it's that way with our products too, where we produce stuff. And I know this sounds crazy, but like we'll produce it, we'll launch it, and then we're going like, how do we make it better? Like, what do we do? What should we change? Yeah. And I remember when we launched our Pro Element tri-suit, Cody Beals was helping us test it. And then even after that, there was more development as to like seam lines. And, we put a gusset in the armpit because we did not want to have a seam 90 degree under the armpit, because as you're running, you'll instantly have chafe there. Yeah. One of the things that, and this is probably spilling the beans, but it's okay. But like our threading, like the threading we use for like our product, it's nylon. We don't use like basic 100% polyester because you have more chafe, it's itchier. So when you put on a product, you naturally will feel this thing where you're like, whoa, this feels so good. And it's because the threading we use is nylon. And so we pay a little bit more for it. Yeah. But again, it's these little tiny things. And even in 2026, we're thinking like, how do we put more pockets? Like, how do we add more pockets? So that way you have additional storage options for, external storage in your on your tri-suits. So it's fun. It's cool. I mean, like I geek out over this because again, before Varlo development, you're always thinking like, how do we make it better? What do we do? How can we tweak it a little bit? And so it's fun. And I definitely appreciate you sharing it, because sometimes Ed and I will talk that our heads are down so much and we don't get to pick our heads up and see what's going on or hear what the feedback is,
Yeah.
Always Chris is also just like an exemplar of our community, and we call him the Gov. I don't know, in Texas we think he's the governor of Texas, but we call him the Gov. I mean, there's everybody in Texas, and there's every triathlete, but in terms of just he's just amazing in everything, and he's there's two people I think the most interesting people in the world when I meet. Marcus Fitz is another person in the triathlon community. And Chris Tubbs is second. Just what he does, and like as a scientist, a PhD, he's rung the NASDAQ bell. He researches like medicines, like if your eyeball pops out of your skull, that he's got you, right? You don't want that disease, rare diseases. So he's a tremendous person, and just we're so happy to have him as part of our community.
I miss having moved from Houston to Nashville. It's obvious it's the people that I miss the most. I certainly don't miss Houston weather, but there's some really good people in Houston, and Chris is definitely high up on that list. So I'm fortunate to stay in touch with Chris. So don't get to train with him as much anymore, but I definitely stay in touch with him. So we're talking about Team Varlo here. I've mentioned it. My awesome sweatshirt says it. Tell us, what is Team Varlo? What is the objective of the team?
Ed?
It's our brand ambassador community. I think it's really the backbone of who we are. I think for us, it's important to create a community of like-minded folks that are out there willing, just supporting the brand. Obviously, they're there to kind of support Varlo. But for us, it's about a movement, and it's about creating a movement of empowerment and support. Soj and I can say this stuff all day to each other and to the people around us, but that's not the world. We call it kind of the Varlo bubble. We always want to expand the Varlo bubble, but for us, it's the brand ambassador community that spreads the word of Varlo about empowerment and support, and it's our hope. And I think it's one of the most rewarding things we've seen over the last several years of the growth of Varlo is when we're not there, when we're not at a race or expo, kind of seeing the feedback, seeing our captains, just even team members going out there and supporting others. It could be stopping, I know Martin Flores, one of our North Carolina captains, he stopped and helped someone with a flat tire. It wasn't a Team Varlo, but, he kind of sacrificed his race to help somebody. And then you have another captain, Jaja Porter, who supported him throughout his journey. So he was there to support her in turn, when she was out there racing. So it's that kind of give and take, but also reaching out, that really extending, not just representing the brand, but passing it forward in terms of supporting others, right? And that's, I think, the most important thing about Team Varlo is what we always ask during all of our calls is, we always ask people to look to your left and look to your right and see how you can support your fellow human. So I think the most exciting thing about the brand ambassador community is not just so much that it's, you're out there sporting a brand, great, but what are you doing to help others? What are you doing to help each other, support others, and bring more people into the sport? That's another massive thing. Is like in terms of triathlon, like you're in the business. The growth of the sport has been stagnating over the last several years, and I think for us as a brand, our purpose really is to grow the sport, and that's through kind of I would say non-endemic folks, people that maybe think the sport is not for them, or it's too difficult, or it's too elitist. Our hope is that, by creating this brand ambassador community, we can kind of bridge some of that gap, bring more people in the sport, bring more excitement into the sport, and ultimately grow it from there.
I've been fortunate in part of the work I do is go to races, a lot of Ironman events all across the country, doing sweat testing with Sweat Lab, and there are oftentimes meetups at those big events. And so I've had a lot of folks are just kind of like in their region and don't get out of that much just because they don't travel as much. But I'm fortunate to attend these races all over the country, so I've gotten to meet Varlo team members from all over, and that's been super cool. And they're always just fun, bright, positive people, and obviously those are the ones that kind of get that are attracted to those captain roles. But even just the non-captains are super cool. It's been so much fun to get to meet them, hang out, have dinner, those kinds of things at the events. So just recently, there was announced the new pro development team. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's I always think that like the future is bright. You have to plan for what's ahead, and I think planning for it and hoping for it, it's one thing, but then you actually have to build it, right? Like you can't just like say, hey, the future is going to be great. It's going to be bright, but you actually have to build it and like infuse like energy, time and resources into it. And so as like we look ahead to like athletes that are performing, whether it as extremely high level, or they just have very ambitious goals on the professional circuit. The goal is like, how do we support those individuals and how do we enrich their journey? And so I've been there. I've seen it. I know what it's like when you're starting off, and you need help. You need navigation.
Yeah.
You need to understand, like, you need insulation is what you also need for protection. And that was kind of like the birth child to say, hey, let's create something for pro athletes that truly helps them by way of partnership.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you partner with a professional athlete, you're obviously looking to aid them in their journey. But depending on where they are in their journey, it could be very different. And myself, I do find enjoyment. I find impact in helping people when they're starting off, because typically that's at a point where they're new to everything, and you're really truly impacting them in a way that is long lasting. So we're really excited for it, because as we started to form the team, the athletes that are coming together, it's like you're kind of seeing this ecosystem, and it kind of like is, if you look at like the pillars of Team Varlo, alone we're fast, together we go further.
Yeah.
Empowerment's the cornerstone of our community. We are they. We help others, and we treat others with the same integrity we demand of ourselves. It kind of like is stemming into our pro development team as we're building this like ecosystem of professional athletes that are, they are super duper talented, like insanely talented. Like we're talking like, there's some Project Podium athletes that are on there that have had like just much success at the ITU level. Yeah. There's athletes that are, newcomers into the 70.3 space. And, last year was their first year, and they had like just amazing results.
Yeah.
But they themselves are also looking for a home that is safe. They're looking for people that they trust, and they're also looking for commonality for their future in the sport. So it's awesome, man. It's really exciting.
Yeah,
very exciting.
Definitely looking forward to that. So as you can share, what's next for Varlo?
I like that precursor, as we can share. I think I'll say this, right? So in 2025 was like an interesting year. There was so much change, and one of our pillars is that change is the only constant. Yeah. Like I for one, like I invite change. I think I'm not one who gets like clammy with change. I think change is how you have progression. If you are not one who's willing to change or inviting of change, you're going to have a really hard time as a business owner. You're going to have time with progression, because progression demands change. You can't expect to grow without change.
Yeah.
So I think 2025 was a year that demanded it from everyone, whether you're in triathlon, if you're a business owner, if you do trade, international trade, it demanded change. And I believe that, like, when I look at the future of Varlo and I look at what's ahead, I see immense focus into the space, the sport itself. I see focus into the people that we make products for and supporting them in their journey. I can say, for instance, I mentioned this before, which is like, we just don't make a triathlon suit. We just don't make a triathlon suit for, hey, here's your tri suit, and hey, if you're really fast, here's your tri suit. But like, we make tri suits depending on people, on where they're at in their journey, right? Yeah. And so if you're a newcomer, this is the product that is designed for you, and it's ergonomic for you. It's conditioned for you. It's designed for you. I think we're going to lean into that a little bit more. I think that's necessary and needed. I think that the change that is taking place in the landscape of the sport, I think that when change comes and it's external change, and so there's change that's a little bit out of your control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say the world is changing, and let's say global warming happened, and all of a sudden, like, if you're in New York, it became Hawaii all of a sudden, or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to deny it. You're going to adapt to it, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But what I believe is that the people that adapt the quickest and the fastest, that's where the success may lie. And I see Varlo as a brand being a young brand that has had immense growth in a short period of time, with an uncanny ability to adapt really, really quickly, right? So I think that's what I see. I'm trying to answer your question, but I do think the ability to adapt. I think making sure that we're honing into the needs of people in the spaces is important, and it's probably what we're going to lead into really, really in 2026.
Very cool. Well, guys, this has been great. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I was already a big fan, and obviously now just all the more. It's been great to hear your background, and both your personal, your professional background of the brand and the company. And I just look forward to wearing the kit out on the race course this year. I'm hoping to get back to a little more racing myself this year. And definitely looking forward to wearing the kit out there and connecting with members of Team Varlo all over. So thank you guys for your time. This has been great. And just look forward to lots more to come.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us, John. Really appreciate it.
Welcome to Tribe Triathlon, the podcast for athletes who don't just train and race, they belong. Whether you're chasing a new PR, dialing in your race day, or just love all things triathlon, you're in the right place. Each episode provides actionable insights to improve your next training session or race. My name is John Mayfield, and I am a seasoned triathlon coach with years of experience guiding hundreds of athletes from their first long course event all the way to World Championship qualifications. So rack your bike, lace up your shoes, and let's get ready to train smarter, race stronger, and thrive within the tribe. This is Tribe Triathlon.